So, here was my night.
Doing that, we're not doing that. Patient privacy, we're not doing it. You guys hit? Okay, let's fuck him up then. Alright. Everybody get a rock. You can. Move the fuck out the way. We're gonna control it the way we want.
So the night pretty much starts with this. I see the cops and I see a bunch of individuals, civilians, running across the street full speed. And then I start noticing the SWAT vans and things like that. So obviously, me being the curious individual who likes to share things like this with you guys, I investigated. I don't know if you can see it from here. I'll see how close I can get to it. Why not push my luck here? Right? So then you're going to see later on that cops are definitely lined up there. There's individuals with their hands up. But little did I realize it was going to devolve into the leader of the protest. And you'll clearly see on video evidence he is the leader of the protest. All the other protesters are listening to him. He is the loudest one, and they are obeying his orders, and he holds some sort of a sway, some sort of power over the majority of the protesters there. That he later calls for people to pick up rocks and attack the police. It is shortly thereafter that he confronts me and attacks me for filming in public, evidently. Which is one thing that I want to touch on. The camera is your friend. If you're protesting, you want people like me to film. It will keep you honest. It will keep the police officers honest. So please, respect my rights to film in public. You're in public. You obviously want people to film. This is your cause. If it's your cause, stick by your guns. If you think you're right, stick by your guns. Anyways, let's continue, because it gets interesting. So I'm going to try to keep the commentary to a minimum from here on out. So don't worry. So this makes a video and some still shots. I was trying to cover a lot of things with a dying battery on something that I wasn't actually totally expecting. So forgive the still shots and things like that. I'm putting them in chronological order and in the parts where I feel that I need to interject. And only when I feel it is necessary to interject, then I will say something. So I want this video to be as open and raw as possible. So at this point, you're going to see the tactical team that was blocking the front pull out, allowing an escape route to, later on, we would find out, an escape route back across Central for the protesters to take. Little be announced to all the protesters, 3 buses of officers were coming from the opposite direction. So the cops are trying to push them into one direction. They didn't want to box them in. So that's what you are going to see here in a second, just to give you some context so you understand. It's a pretty common tactic it shows that the officers were not looking to arrest people. They were not looking for a confrontation. They are looking to hopefully direct the protesters away using a show of force. That's why here in a second you're going to see the officers peel away. They're going to pull out. That opens a way for the protesters to back out this direction towards Central, from the direction of the camera facing. And then later on you're going to see the big line of riot officers with batons, and I don't believe they were rubber bullets. I believe they were beanbag shotguns, but I'm not positive about that. But you'll see all that later.
Fuck the police! That's how you ride for your motherfucking people, nigga. That's how you ride for them. Tell them thugs, tell them hood nigga. Bitch, how you ride for your motherfucking people.
So pretty quickly after the tactical team, which was pretty a distraction while the buses of cops lined up in the dark, almost like that movie with the light behind them, a whole line of riot officers come marching at high speed towards us. And that's what happens here. Alright, they are charging.
Respect the people!
So there are some gaps, just so you know. My phone was pretty much dead, and so I had to charge it periodically. It was almost dead. I would let it charge like 15% video and run back and charge it, and I kept moving my car slower and slower towards the protest as well, so that way I was quicker to charge, but nothing I could do about that. My apologies.
She's not even part of it. Yes, shine your light. Everybody come on.
Riot gear. The fucking batons with that. There's nothing broken, right? Nothing to say.
The First Amendment! First Amendment! We can waste our time. That's what we can do. That's the end of it.
We're paying for it at the end of the day.
Somewhere else where you guys should be.
They're out here on our dime getting a paycheck for this.
That's what I'm saying. So, since they want to do this, they're going to go commit other crimes to other people.
Back up! Back up!
He's not even close.
How about that? Don't try to act tough now. I'm in the same fucking
That's the point. That's the point.
You're the one with the weapon, not him. You don't have that shit. You do. Look down. You guys do. Look down. You'll see it.
How does it feel when the agency you work for has killed more unarmed people than NYPD? Are you fucking
You don't got one either.
Everybody about to use force. About to use force to show us that they're in control. They gotta use force.
So they're gonna use chemical weapons against us in the middle of a fucking pandemic.
I can't breathe! I can't breathe!
They about to gas a whole bunch of unmasked people in the pandemic.
Y'all got yours though.
In the middle of this pandemic, we about to get gassed by the police with our hands up and on our own street.
On a sheet!
On our street!
All right, so now also here we have civilians, these are not city officials in the least, directing traffic, one of them using her cell phone to direct traffic out of the way of where the protesters and the officers are clashing. That gentleman just so happens to be wearing a reflective vest, probably from his work or something like that, but he is not a city official. He's just a citizen. Now, at this point, the young lady there that is crying, that is hanging on to the individual's shoulders, she was saying, and the people that were there were saying that she was shot with a rubber bullet. First off, I don't think they had rubber bullets. I believe they have bean bags, but okay, not a big difference. There's a huge difference, but not a big difference. However, I didn't hear any gunshots or any kind of report at all from any kind of a firearm. I can't verify any of that. And here in a second is where you will see the individual who was pretty much directing the whole protest. You're going to see him come over and say, well, they shot her. Well, then everybody fuck him up. Let's go fuck him up. Everybody grab rocks. And he was trying to get people to grab rocks to throw them at the officers. It was soon thereafter that he decided to grab my phone and try to, I don't know, do something to me.
You guys hit? Okay, let's fuck him up then. All right. Where y'all going? Everybody get a rock. Everybody get a rock. Let's go. Right now. Back up. Everybody, if you want it, hey, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Patient privacy. We're not doing it.
All right.
No.
Yeah, but we're still in public too.
Bring her here!
Well, hey, can you stand here and block this guy?
That's fine. You can do what you want. I can do what I want. It's your free time.
Hey, move the fuck out the way.
Hey.
We're gonna control it the way we want.
Hey,
I don't have to be
this is
nice.
America. This is still America.
Fuck
This is still
America.
America.
Fuck America. I'll show you the real America. You're not getting
I am
show
not
her.
getting in anybody's way.
You're
I'm not
trying to
harming
get her and
anybody.
she's hurt. I'm
Fine.
telling you
That's
back
why I
the
started
fuck
filming
up.
that direction.
Go ahead that
As
way.
soon as he asked,
Stop
I
talking
filmed
and
that
go.
direction.
Stop talking and go.
So quit being so aggressive.
Stop talking and go.
Don't be aggressive
Fuck
towards
I
me.
want. I'm a black nigga in America.
I am not.
Get your-
I've
go
been
ahead.
homeless. I've
Go
been out
ahead.
of dumpsters. I've been there.
I love you.
All right?
Go ahead. My bad.
So a bit of an odd exchange. I wanted to let him know this is still America. It hasn't stopped being America because he decided to protest on that street. That street does not become annexed out of the laws of America because he deems it so. I mean, that's just not the way it works. But once I realized he wasn't going to back down, the philosophy is this. The only way to guarantee that you survive a conflict is to avoid a conflict. So I figured, well, we'll find common ground. I'll be the gray man, I'll be the low man, so I let him know, hey, I've come from the bad positions, I've eaten out of dumpsters. And then he said, my bad, I apologize, or something of that nature. Go figure. Now, quite honestly, that last image of an empty street was the end of it all. I turned around to try to record my car. Next thing charge my phone in my car. And I turned around for a split second, and then I turned around to see what was happening, and literally the cops and the buses were just gone. I mean, it maybe took all of 4 seconds. But that was really it. After that, everybody kind of mulled around doing nothing. The helicopter flew above telling people to disperse. People didn't really disperse, but nothing really happened. That said, there's a proper way to protest and there's an improper way to protest, and calling for rock throwing is not the way, and denying cameras access is not the way. They want cameras. You want people to report. If you believe you are correct enough to go out to the street and stand your grounds, which I commend you for, and stick to your guns, which I commend you for, and if you believe that you're right, then you want the cameras there to document your side, your victory, so to speak. But doing it violently is not the answer. No, do not do it violently. I know the wheels of justice are slow, but if you contain within the wheels of justice, then you can do a lot more good than without. Anyways, thoughts and opinions. I love you guys. See you on the next one.